Hey, shalom everyone. This is Chris Shoemaker, also known as Yehuda Ben Shomer, and you're watching the Ponderings of the Perkei Avot. Today we are in chapter 4, verses 23 and 24, which reads, Rabbi Shimon, the son of Eleazar, would say, "Do not appease your friend at the height of his anger." This is the wrong time to be approaching somebody, right? Because if somebody is in the height of their anger and you're trying to appease them or calm them down or to correct them, they're just going to go off on you just because you opened your mouth. Let them air it out, let them vent, and when cooler heads prevail and when they've calmed down, then approach him. And approach him in private. Don't approach him and rebuke him publicly. Be tactful and be loving in your approach. Do not confront him while his dead still lies before him. Don't be bringing up the coulda, woulda, shouldas when somebody is in mourning. And sometimes you're like, well, I just don't even know what to say. Some people say, I'm sorry, so sorry for your loss, our condolences, our sympathies and prayers, whatever. You don't have to say anything. Just being there in the presence of somebody who's mourning is enough. Just your presence speaks volumes. You don't have to say or do anything. And it says, do not ask him about his vow the moment he makes it. So, don't bring up a vow as soon as somebody makes it. Let them be able to think about the vow that they made, and maybe, because they're so zealous and so excited and they're like, who are you to tell me what to do? Go to them later and say, hey, are you sure this was the right vow to make? It already came out of your mouth, so there was no reason for me to say it at the moment, but let me go over this vow with you. Was it the smart thing? Maybe not. Now that you made the vow, you got to fulfill it. So let's help each other. Let me help you to see what plan we can implement to help you to fulfill your vow and stay faithful to it. And do not endeavor to see him at the time of his degradation. This is basically saying, don't kick a man when he's down, right? All right, so the second part of the Perkei Avot says, Samuel the Small would say, when your enemy falls, do not rejoice. When he stumbles, let your heart not be gladdened, lest God see it, and it will be displeasing to him in his eyes, and he will turn his wrath from him to you. This according to Proverbs 24:17 through 18. So basically this part is saying that we shouldn't rejoice when our enemy falls. Are we glad that we weren't overcome by our enemies? Yes. Do we have a right to feel so? Yes. But when we see our enemies fall and defeated and crushed, we shouldn't rejoice. Why? Because they are God's creation and God's children too. Why? Because if they've totally been destroyed, they have no more chances to repent. So there is a legend, a Jewish legend, that when the children of Israel were crossing the Red Sea and the Egyptian army was pursuing them and Israel made it safely across on dry ground, that the Red Sea that was parted collapsed and consumed the Egyptians and drowned them in the sea. The angels immediately started cheering, and God said, what are you doing? Why are you cheering? This is a sad day because my creation has been destroyed. So even though that Egypt was the enemy of Israel and had every intention to do harm to him, it still broke God's heart that Egypt, the Egyptian army, was decimated and drowned in this flood. Okay, so let me read to you what I have written here. It says tact, and I should add timing. Tact and timing are the greatest allies you can have in life for dealing with family and friends and enemies, especially enemies. Do not be self-righteous and spout off Torah when one falls, but place yourself in the other's shoes and ask yourself, how would you want to be approached? See, if you have bad news to say or a rebuke, approach is everything. Your delivery is everything. Do you do it publicly and cause your family or friends to lose face, or do you do it lovingly and privately, right? Just being there but place yourself in the other shoes and ask yourself, how would you want to be approached? Just being there in silence is enough to comfort a mourner. Helping another while keeping their dignity intact is one of the greatest things you can do to show love to another person. We can be glad and rejoice that an enemy has not overcome us, but we are to pity an enemy when he falls. This is also an act of great love, for God is no respecter of person, and he loves your enemy just as much as he loves you. So we too, as imitators of God, as dear children, according to Ephesians 5:1, we too ought to show love and compassion towards our enemies. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Shalom, Shavua Tov. AbrahamsDescendants.com, getting back to the first century in a 21st century way.